What if I told you the one thing that makes a woman feel irresistibly drawn to you isn't how much you give, how often you text, or how deeply you love, but how willing you are to walk away? Most men chase love. Few know how to attract it by letting go. And that's exactly where your power begins. Emotional detachment in a man is often misunderstood. It's seen by many as a lack of care or an attempt to distance himself emotionally from others. But in truth, emotional detachment, when rooted in self-awareness and emotional maturity, is not coldness. It's centeredness. It means that a man remains internally balanced no matter what emotional chaos might surround him. He does not react impulsively or get swept away by someone else's emotional wave. He stands firm, connected to his own thoughts, emotions, and values, rather than being consumed by another's turmoil. Now, this kind of detachment isn't a defense mechanism or an avoidance tactic. It's the outcome of deep emotional work. A man who is centered has done the hard work of understanding his own emotional landscape. He has learned not to over-identify with every feeling that arises within him or those that arise in others. He doesn't fear emotion, but he doesn't become it either. He watches, listens, processes, and then responds. He is not afraid of intimacy, but he does not let intimacy shake his foundation. Women sense this. They feel this emotional gravity that doesn't pull them into confusion or desperation, but offers a steady presence where they feel safe, seen, and understood. A centered man knows when to engage and when to step back. He knows that his presence is valuable, and he doesn't give it away to situations that demand him to abandon himself. He listens deeply, he holds space with compassion, but he doesn't sacrifice his own inner peace for the sake of being liked, needed, or accepted. And that restraint, that calm self-possession, creates a kind of quiet power that women instinctively respect. A man who doesn't jump at every trigger or try to fix every problem becomes a calming influence. He doesn't respond with panic or irritation when emotions rise. Instead, he stays grounded. That groundedness, that steadiness, makes him deeply attractive. Not because he's trying to be, but because he just is. This kind of detachment also allows a man to love from a place of freedom rather than fear. He does not love to avoid loneliness. He loves because he chooses to, not because he needs to. He can say yes with his whole heart, but he can also walk away when something compromises his self-respect. That balance between caring and letting go is rare. And rare things attract attention. It's not about playing games or using distance as a manipulation. It's about knowing that closeness means nothing if you lose your center in the process. When a man learns this, he stops chasing and starts attracting. He begins to embody a presence that is deeply masculine, not in domination or control, but in emotional sovereignty. That's what true detachment is, being emotionally present without being emotionally enslaved. Women are naturally drawn to stability, not submission. In relationships, emotional safety holds more value than grand romantic gestures or constant validation. A man who is stable emotionally, mentally, and spiritually provides a secure container for a woman to express herself freely. She doesn't feel the need to shrink herself or second-guess her emotions when she's in the presence of a man who is grounded. He doesn't try to dominate her or demand control over how she feels or behaves. Instead, his consistent and calm energy invites her into deeper trust and openness. Stability is not about being unchanging or emotionless. It's about being reliable in the way you handle pressure, conflict, and vulnerability. When a man is stable, he becomes a safe harbor, a place where a woman feels she can drop her defenses. She doesn't need to tiptoe around his moods or manage his insecurities. She knows that he won't punish her emotionally for being herself. This kind of emotional safety is rare, and it stands out more than any words or promises ever could. It's not about proving you're strong. It's about embodying strength that doesn't fluctuate based on external conditions. Submission, on the other hand, creates imbalance. When a man submits his identity to please or chase, he He unknowingly communicates instability. He shows that he can be swayed easily by validation or rejection, that he might bend his truth to avoid confrontation, that he needs approval to feel okay within himself. This weakens the dynamic between two people. A woman may appreciate the attention temporarily, but over time, she will begin to feel emotionally responsible for the man's sense of worth. That responsibility becomes a burden, not a bond. Women don't want a man who gives up his voice just to avoid disagreement. They don't respect a man who avoids his truth in fear of upsetting them. What women truly desire is a man who can stand in his own truth, kindly but firmly, a man who listens, understands, and even changes when needed, but never abandons his core. This is stability. This is leadership without dominance. When a man embodies this, he becomes emotionally attractive in a way that is sustainable and deeply fulfilling. Real attraction is not built through control, fear, or submission. It's built through clarity, self-awareness, and presence. Stability allows a woman to relax into her feminine energy without fear of being judged or led into emotional chaos. She feels like she can be wild, expressive, vulnerable, and still be held with presence. A stable man doesn't get pulled into emotional storms. He remains calm, not because he suppresses emotion, but because he has done the inner work to be at peace with himself. This makes him irresistible, not because he chases approval, but because he becomes a reflection of safety, strength, and certainty. That is what a woman truly craves. When a man becomes overly attached in a relationship, he begins to operate from a place of emotional dependence. His thoughts revolve around needing constant reassurance, craving attention, and fearing loss. In this state, his love is no longer a gift, but a demand. He looks for signs that he is enough, that he is safe, that he won't be left. This creates tension in the dynamic. The woman senses his fear, his anxiety, and his underlying pressure to be needed. What started as affection slowly turns into emotional suffocation. She begins to feel more like a caretaker of his insecurities rather than a partner in an equal exchange of love. On the other hand, and when a man knows how to detach, he allows space to breathe in the relationship. He's not constantly seeking confirmation of his worth because he already possesses it within himself. This creates mystery, not because he's playing games, but because he's not always readily available emotionally. He's present, but not consumed. He engages, but doesn't overextend. His attention is given, not clung to. The woman begins to feel a natural desire to understand him more deeply, not because he withholds, but because he isn't defined by her responses. Attachment often comes with a sense of urgency. A man who is attached believes he must act fast, say the right things, be ever available, or risk losing her. And this often leads to predictability. He always agrees, always texts first, always shows up, even when it's inconvenient. His presence becomes expected, and in that expectation, mystery fades. There's nothing left to wonder about, no edge to lean into, no unknown to explore. Attraction often thrives in the unknown. When everything is given too easily, desire begins to dull. A detached man, by contrast, is not mysterious because he hides. He's mysterious because he's full of purpose beyond the relationship. He has things that ground him, practices that restore him, passions that fulfill him. He doesn't abandon these things for love. He integrates love into his already full life. This signals to the woman that he is whole, not waiting to be completed. That sense of fullness draws her in. She wonders about the world he's building. She feels curious, not burdened, and that curiosity becomes a powerful foundation for desire. Neediness chokes attraction because it puts pressure on the other person to fill emotional gaps. It says, I need you to feel okay. Mystery, on the other hand, invites openness. It says, I enjoy you, but I don't need you to define me. That difference creates a powerful shift. It allows the woman to engage by choice, not by obligation. It invites her into a dance, not a rescue mission. Detachment isn't cold, it's confident. It doesn't repel love, it deepens its foundation. When a man detaches, he becomes a source of ground and intrigue, strong enough to love without losing himself. Self-possession is one of the most powerful and magnetic qualities a man can embody. It means he knows who he is, what he believes in, what he wants, and what he refuses to tolerate. He doesn't rely on the opinions or validation of others to define his worth. His decisions aren't shaped by fear of rejection or desperation for approval. He carries himself with a quiet certainty that doesn't need to prove anything. This inner clarity radiates strength and makes people take notice, not because he demands attention, but because his presence naturally commands it. When a man is self-possessed, he becomes deeply attractive in a way that goes beyond surface charm or physical looks. His value is rooted in his essence, in the way he shows up in the world. He doesn't get easily flustered by conflict or rejection because he's tied to the outcome of every interaction. He understands that not everyone will approve of him, and he's at peace with that. This emotional detachment doesn't make him distant, it makes him sovereign. He is emotionally available without being emotionally dependent. Women are naturally drawn to this kind of man because he offers stability without control. He doesn't need to manipulate emotions or play games to keep interest. His strength lies in his authenticity. He can be kind without being soft, assertive without being aggressive, and romantic without being needy. His words carry weight because they come from a place of inner alignment, not from a need to please. This makes his love feel more secure, more intentional, and more real. A self-possessed man sets boundaries not to push people away, but to protect his peace. He is not afraid to walk away from situations that don't match his values or energy. That willingness to lose what isn't right for him is part of what makes him irresistible. It shows that he values his integrity over momentary affection. Women feel this. They sense that his love is a choice, not a weakness, that he is with them not out of fear or loneliness, but because he genuinely wants to be. This type of presence is rare in a world where so many people are trying to fit in, be liked, or win others over. A man who is fully in possession of himself stands out. He becomes a symbol of trust, not just because he's reliable, but because he's true to himself. This invites a different kind of connection, one that isn't based on control or approval, but on mutual respect and curiosity. Self-possession is not arrogance, it's rooted confidence that allows a man to show up fully without losing who he is. And when a woman meets a man like this, she feels not only attracted, but safe, because she knows she's dealing with someone who won't lose himself in trying to love her. Masculine energy thrives when it is focused, purposeful, and undisturbed by emotional chaos. Detachment serves as a protective mechanism that helps preserve this core energy. A man who is emotionally detached doesn't allow himself to be pulled into unnecessary drama, reactive behaviors, or the emotional volatility of others. He doesn't sacrifice his internal balance to manage someone else's feelings or try to fix what isn't his responsibility. Instead, he stands firmly within his own emotional center, maintaining his clarity and direction, even in the presence of strong emotional waves. This protects his masculine essence from being drained. When a man tries to carry the emotional burdens of someone else, when he feels responsible for fixing every mood swing or proving himself over and over, he leaks energy. His focus begins to scatter. His presence becomes inconsistent. He moves from being a grounded man to an anxious one, overthinking every action, worried about how he's being perceived, constantly trying to control outcomes. In that state, he is no longer leading, he is reacting. Detachment, however, shields him from this pattern. It allows him to care deeply without losing himself emotionally. He can show up for others while remaining rooted in his own truth. A detached man doesn't withhold empathy or support. He listens, he observes, he provides comfort when needed, but he does not lose himself in the emotions of others. He understands the line between compassion and emotional enmeshment. He doesn't try to be someone's emotional crutch, because he knows that doing so creates imbalance. Instead, he offers his presence without sacrificing his peace. This balance is powerful. It keeps him calm, focused, and in control of his own experience, which naturally draws others toward him. Masculine energy is most magnetic when it's not trying to prove itself. A man who has learned the art of detachment does not chase validation, does not fear disapproval, and does not beg for attention. He moves with intent, speaks with confidence, and acts from a place of inner stability. He knows that his time, attention, and energy are valuable, and he doesn't give them away recklessly. Women sense this energetic boundary, and it creates both safety and intrigue. He becomes someone they can respect and admire, not because he dominates, but because he governs himself. This kind of detachment allows a man to recharge. Instead of being emotionally drained by every conflict or mood, he protects his energy by choosing wisely where to invest it. He knows when to be present and when to pull back. He doesn't fear silence, distance, or solitude. These moments become his way of restoring his strength. This ability to retreat inward, to preserve his energy, and to show up from a place of fullness makes him a deeply attractive figure. He is not easily shaken. He is not overextended. He is solid, clear, and composed, and in that stillness he becomes a source of calm and power. A man who detaches from the need to chase becomes a natural leader in his relationships. Leadership in this context doesn't mean taking control or asserting dominance. It means providing emotional direction, consistency, and the courage to make decisions based on clarity, not desperation. When a man is constantly chasing, whether it's attention, affection, or validation, he places himself in a submissive position. He's reacting to the other person, adapting himself to meet their mood or expectation, and allowing his sense of worth to be shaped by how they respond. This weakens his presence and creates an unbalanced dynamic where he gives too much and receives too little. When a man detaches from chasing, he is no longer ruled by fear or emotional insecurity. He trusts in who he is, what he brings, and what he's building. He no longer feels the need to prove his worth with every text, compliment, or effort. Instead, he operates from a place of abundance, knowing that real connection doesn't require constant pursuit. He becomes the one who chooses, not the one who waits to be chosen. This subtle but powerful shift transforms how he is perceived. He's not running after approval, he's leading with presence. This kind of leadership is rooted in inner stability. The detached man doesn't pressure others into closeness, he invites it. He creates space emotionally and energetically where a woman can step in if she chooses to, but he doesn't collapse when she doesn't. His sense of self isn't dependent on her decision. That freedom gives both people room to breathe and relate from a place of truth, not fear. He's able to love without clinging and give without expecting in return. That's not passivity, it's strength. Because he doesn't chase, he becomes more selective. He's not led by impulse or insecurity. He's led by values, standards, and vision. He doesn't just accept anyone into his life. He evaluates whether someone complements his path and purpose. This discernment sends a message: his time and energy are precious. That message, even unspoken, creates respect. A woman feels that she is stepping into something intentional, not something built out of emotional dependency. Leading, instead of chasing, also means being able to walk away when necessary. The detached man can sense when something is no longer aligned and move on without drama or resentment. He respects himself too much to stay where his value is not recognized. This makes him unpredictable in the healthiest way. Not because he plays games, but because he doesn't attach his identity to being accepted. That unpredictability adds edge and mystery, elements that keep attraction alive. He's stable, yet not easily controlled, present, yet not overly available, loving, yet not losing himself. Through detachment, he becomes the emotional anchor in the relationship, not because he controls everything, but because he knows how to navigate emotion with awareness and strength. He leads not with force, but with presence. And that kind of leadership draws others in without effort. When a man learns the power of detachment, He stops chasing love and starts embodying it. He no longer gives his energy away to prove his worth or earn validation. Instead, he becomes grounded, centered, and emotionally sovereign. This quiet strength doesn't push people away, it draws them in. Women can feel the difference between a man who needs them to feel complete and a man who is already whole. Detachment isn't about being distant or unfeeling, it's about being rooted in who you are, regardless of who stays or leaves. The man who leads with detachment leads with purpose, not pressure. He becomes the eye of calm in an emotional world, and in that calm, he becomes unforgettable. This is the man women can't resist, not because he tries to be, but because he no longer needs to try. He simply is.